Warm welcome, Mr. Josh, sir. So we are happy for your presence in Krishiyanti. So as you spoke about healthcare sector and your expertise in the healthcare industry, so my question also goes on as an entrepreneur, we being the future entrepreneurs. So how, I mean, despite of several measures taken by the Ministry of Health and also different private hospitals, so how can we and MBA students and MBA graduates or else future entrepreneurs improve the healthcare ecosystems in India, especially in the rural part of the India? And adding on to the particular question, with the rising old age homes, I mean, rising old age members or senior citizens, and the nuclear family system, how this change is gonna be impact in the healthcare landscape overall, a broad point of view.
So let me start with the second one first about older people and their issues. Like we mentioned, like we discussed in the presentation a little while ago, the demographic profile of India is changing, and that there is nothing that we can do about it. It is a process which is on. I think when we look at the impact of nuclear families and old age, the senior citizens, the first one is it is not only about the healthcare. I think what we often forget when we talk about the seniors is the need for mental health. It is what mental health. What I mean is the feeling that we give them that they are wanted, they are contributing to society, they are relevant to the families, and they are valued members of the family. I think those things are more important, apart from merely only providing them healthcare when they fall sick. I think when we look at the senior group of our people, it's about looking at them holistically. That it is not merely that they are alive. I think they are alive and in a happy mental state. I think that's the responsibility that all the families have. It becomes challenging these days with nuclear families. In the past, maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, joint families and larger families, the seniors always had a role. But how many of us live with our grandparents, anymore? How many of the working people live with the parents anymore? I think that is something we have to be mindful of. So the senior living is not merely that they're alive. I think, they are alive in the true sense, including the feeling that, they are needed and they are contributing to the family and the society. And to come back to your first query about the rural healthcare, it is a big challenge, primarily because investment in rural areas by private sector is less. That, government infrastructure is what is essentially available in the rural areas, the PHCs and CHCs and all that. And we know the challenges of that. But the private sector investment in healthcare in the rural areas is not like your colleague asked earlier, that the lady asked earlier, it is not as much as it should be. Hopefully that is something would improve over a period of time. But, I would come back to what I said in the larger gathering. India's way forward would have to be preventive healthcare, that, prevent people from falling seriously ill. Nobody can prevent us from being ill at any time, but I'm saying prevent people from getting serious illness. Early detection of cancer, early detection of other illnesses is what we should focus on.
Great responses. And also one more add-on question apart from these questions. So you being the managing director and CEO of Manipal, now how would you, I mean, suppose if you're starting a new hospital in a new place, let's say now the growing capital, the highest budget has been allocated to Amravati, Andhra Pradesh. So if you're setting your business over there, what are the critical challenges you may face, and also will those challenges be supported by the government?
So when we look at creating healthcare infrastructure, the capex is not the only challenge. Capex you can find as an organization, you raise funds, debt or equity, and you could find capex. The issue of a hospital is not creating the infrastructure. It has issues, but it is less of the problem. Please do understand that healthcare is a people-oriented enterprise. That it is about the team which delivers healthcare at the front end. In a typically what we need is for every bed that we operate, that we need about 5 to 6 employees, that doctors, nurses, staff, technicians, customer care, and all that. So often the challenge in going to a new location or a remote location is finding the staffing, particularly the doctors and nurses. So it is not too much about the finding that 500 crores that you need to put up a 250 bedded hospital. I think it's about finding the people. I think that is the challenge that we'll have to address. If you recall, I showed a graph where we were far short in number of nurses and doctors that we need in the country. I think those are the stuff that we'll have to also parallelly.
Thank you, sir. As also you told about collaboration, definitely one fine day, you being a CEO and also I can also collaborate with you. Thank you.
Hello, sir. This is Meghana Bhatt. Very grateful for this opportunity that we are being able to converse with you about all the matters. So, taking healthcare as an industry, so we have seen recent things like economic survey or the budget for that matter, or any other political or social economic factors. So, what is the impact of all such aspects on the healthcare industry? Like, be it in investment or gold prices, we could see the sudden changes. But how is healthcare affected by such things?
Healthcare, like we talked about earlier, is a fairly inelastic demand, right? I'm saying it's like food, almost like food. So if person falls sick, and you and I may tolerate it for some days, but when we feel seriously bad, we will have to find healthcare. So the you would have learned from your economics that inelasticity of a demand is that it's fairly shock proof from external kind of environment. Not completely, but the way retail would be impacted or travel would be impacted, healthcare would not be impacted. So that's a benefit that you have. So uh, so therefore, what impacts healthcare are the long-term policies. For example, if rural income goes up, rural income does not go up suddenly. It would go up on the back of sustained policies which would benefit the rural population. If rural income goes up or any income goes up, the ability to consume healthcare, is that much more. First of all, it is a basic need, and like we said, inelastic, and therefore people can. It would always be consumed, but the ability to consume would be more. So therefore, the impact on healthcare is by more long-term policies and not short-term adjustment. Short-term adjustment will have maybe a temporary blip here or there. But I think not only in healthcare, things like agriculture, that things like manufacturing, you don't put a cement plant for a demand for the next 5 years, right? You put a cement plant or create capacity of cement or steel if you think the economy is going to grow for the next 15 years or 20 years. So healthcare is more long term in that. Whereas if you have to put a restaurant, you would look at what is the short term, plus or minus. So I would imagine healthcare is more long term.
Yes, sir. So, what about the trends that come up in the market, be it sustainability or diversity or such trends? So, does that affect the industry?
So sustainability and diversity should be everybody's concern. Not only healthcare concern. For example, I was thinking when I looked around this class, you have maybe 40-50% are women, which is a great thing to have. In my MBA class of 46, I had 8 classmates who were ladies. So things are that way. It is more equitable. DEI, both are there. Equality or equitability is also there. So sustainability is important not only for healthcare. Everything that we do, that in healthcare, the sustainability is about the if you look at the principles, it's about the consumables that you use, the energy that you use. Do you use, for example, solar instead of dark energy, black energy for your hospital requirement? Do you use material which can be recyclable? So that is something we are alive to. We do keep an eye on sustainability and recycling sustainability, something that we look. Gender equality and inclusivity, healthcare is probably up there because a lot of our nursing colleagues are all ladies. That's a wonderful thing to have. So I mentioned earlier, out of our 32,000 colleagues, 9 or 10,000 are nurses. And so therefore, proportion of lady employees in healthcare is traditionally high. So that is really not a challenge. But when we talk about inclusivity, it is not merely about a particular proportion of people getting included. It's also about work environment being safer, work environment being, equitable, So it is not merely a headcount issue. It is also, genuinely speaking, are we giving that environment to our colleagues? I think we believe we are moving in that way.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
You are also talking to a hungry CEO. Keep in mind that.
Yes.
Okay.
Check.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Munish.
Yeah.
So I'll be talking about the budget and the healthcare. So if we see the budget, we've almost got a 12.5% increase compared to the last year's budget.
In what?
The budget the healthcare industry's got 90,000 crores is what was allocated.
This year?
Yes.
This is not a growth of 12.5% over last year.
Few statistics showed, sir.
Okay.
So few statistics showed that previous year was around 81,000 crores and this year was around 92,000 crores.
Okay.
So in keeping that in mind and talking about cancer, every in India 100.4 people out of 100,000 people get affected by cancer, and in women, if you're checking, especially cervical cancer is a very concerning factor. So how will this budget allocation help in the accessibility and the reach to the treatment of cancer in India, especially rural India?
So, like I was telling your colleague Meghna, right, is that it is healthcare is more long term, long-term policies. You can't intervene in an area like cancer, in a therapy like cancer, by a blip of an ear. That what is the solution for cancer? One, why does cancer happen? One of course is the pollution and the environment and all related kind of stuff that we have, food that you eat, and there are genetic predisposition and other things. So one is, when you look at addressing cancer, are you sort of removing circumstances which cause cancer or reducing circumstances which cause cancer? Then we are talking about carcinogens and food that we eat, like I said, chemicals and pollutants and all that. So budget for an year is. So we talked about healthcare as an ecosystem. I said there is no prevention without safe drinking water, no prevention without sanitation. So you can't look at cancer in isolation. You have to look at cancer in the context of what causes cancer. And so therefore, budget for 1 year is not significantly impacting those kind of things. You talked about cervical cancer, for example. If we give HPV vaccination to our girl child, girl children, before the age of 14, 15, they are more immune to developing cervical cancer later. So, for example, therefore, preventable cancer, are we doing enough? I think that is one thing. Do we, smoking, chewing tobacco, kind of a thing, are we doing enough to prevent that? So those are the factors which are related to treatment of cancer. Budget certainly helps. For example, budget reduce import duty on cancer treatment drugs, which is fine, which is a good thing to happen. But what we should really be worried about as a society is not about treating cancer. How do we prevent cancer in the long term? So we need to look at both of them. Yeah.
So also talking about the tobacco and all the issues, sir. So if we see that no such preventions are there, they just type in a label saying that cancer, smoking is injurious to health, consuming alcohol is dangerous to health.
Yeah.
So considering that, we know that in rural India, changing their mindset is very difficult. And at the same time, there is no hospitals, like private hospitals, especially considering government hospitals, they have few amenities and all that, but it's not up to that level considering the private and public. So what initiative can the government do here? Because for the cure, giving a campaign or something, spreading awareness for women, especially cervical cancer, because they are not aware of the implications of consuming these tobaccos and all that. So what could the government or what could the private bodies, considering even Manipal Hospital, what would you do?
I think some of these are societal movements that we require. For example, similar educating the girl child, for example, government was doing that, Beti Padhao kind of a thing, that, as an example. So smoking, consumption of alcohol, would not change by putting a label. That label is to meet a regulatory requirement, saying that you have to put a label in one language or two languages or show a picture and all that. I think it is about the social change that is required. That preventing somebody from smoking is not a obligation that the government or a private body can take upon itself. That prevention of anything, or whether it is smoking, prevention of disease. For example, if you stretch the argument, how do we ensure that everybody exercises for 30 minutes a day? It would significantly reduce the healthcare cost of the nation. So, or everybody, none of you eat junk food. You don't now go out and eat a samosa. How do I ensure that? So I think healthcare is a social subject. It's about family, it's about community, it's about society. I think what India needs is a transformation. That we have to manage the situation at hand today, which is what we are facing in terms of tertiary healthcare and others. But we have to have a transformative agenda, and that has to have every stakeholder: government, public, private sector, local bodies, community at large. Everybody is required. So it's a long-term journey, and we have to have a plan.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was really a wonderful discussion. We come to know about various perspectives like economic survey, rural, urban development, everything. It was a very good survey. And for me personally, I'll take forward the word which you told, CEOs and MD is not just a king, they are just a captain.
Not just kings at all. Not just kings. They are not kings is what it is.
Yeah, I'll just take it forward for the whole session. Thank you so much, sir.
Good. I'm glad that you do that, because a lot of the time we forget what got us here. That I would not be a CEO or a captain if I don't have a team, right? I think it should as an individual, and I'm glad that you picked it up as the take-home message for you, because we are what we are. I talked also these days. Without collaboration, there is nothing really possible. So please acknowledge your team. Glad that you picked it.
Thank you so much, sir.